Joining me now is GB News host Patrick Christys. Patrick, thanks for joining me from London tonight. UK MPs have voted in favour of legislation that will prescribe the group Palestine Action as a terrorist organisation. The legislation was passed by 385 votes to 26 and will come into effect later this week. But among those who voted against the move, former Labor leader Jeremy Corbyn, who said that rather than ban the group, people should listen to them.
Yes, indeed. I mean, so basically Palestine Action are now in the mess around sense, and they're starting to find out, aren't they? So there's a couple of double-barreled surnames in the list of people who've now been charged because of their actions with Palestine Action. But as you rightly pointed out, 26 members of parliament voted not to prescribe them. They said things like, "We are all Palestine Action." Well, let's see how brave they are now. Go on, say it again, because you could be charged under the terrorist legislation, and it would be a real shame if they repeated that, wouldn't it? Jeremy Corbyn was very nearly the Prime Minister of this country. He was nearly our envoy to the world, and conceivably, he would have been in support of them. Someone did point out that he voted against prescribing Al-Qaeda as a terrorist organisation several years ago, so he's not always been on the right side of history. But some of these MPs and the Hooray Henry types in British society have said that they're going to try to do an I am Spartacus moment where they all stand up and say, "I support Palestine Action." Well, I've got an idea. Instead of prosecuting them, just send them to Gaza. I mean, loads of them also support things like trans rights. We could see if they could make the case for trans rights in Gaza, couldn't we? There is a huge undercurrent, though, in this country of radical, hardline Islamist support. And it's going to be a very difficult job for police now at the various marches and protests that are taking place, especially in our capital city, to try to prosecute every single person who says they support Palestine Action. But of course, they should do that.
Well, just for people here in Australia who don't understand anything about Palestine Action, how much support do they have in the UK, and why have they been prescribed as a terrorist organisation? What have they done?
Yeah, absolutely. So Palestine Action do have a fair bit of support because of the name, really. A lot of people are here that say, "Oh, we support Palestine," they just support them. They've done a load of protests, violent protests, where they've broken into people's businesses because they've claimed that they're making parts for things like Israeli weapons, even though those businesses have not been doing that. But the straw that broke the camel's back was that these numpties broke into a British military base, an Air Force base, and damaged a plane, a massive RAF, Royal Air Force plane, costing a huge amount of damage. That by definition really is a terrorist act, and it was coming at a very sensitive time when it was all really kicking off in Iran, and who knows, we might have really needed that fighter jet at that particular moment in time. So they did that. That was the step too far, attacking British military bases and equipment.
And as you said, there's a number of members of parliament who, even despite all that, didn't want to see them prescribed as a terror organisation. It beggars belief. Unusual scenes in the British Parliament. Patrick, UK Chancellor Rachel Reeves appeared to be in tears. Have a look.
The Prime Minister headed to Parliament to take questions about dropping key elements of his welfare reforms. Before he even started, it was clear something was amiss with the Chancellor to his left.
The reformed welfare system that we're putting in place will be better for individuals, better for the taxpayer and better for the economy.
As the session went on, Rachel Reeves looked increasingly distressed and became the focus of questions.
She looks absolutely miserable.
The Prime Minister's team assured us afterwards that the Chancellor is going nowhere. Her spokesman said she was upset by a personal matter.
So, Patrick, what was going on there? And I believe the effects of her crying in Parliament even affected the value of the pound, which dropped as a result.
Absolutely. So our Prime Minister is a spineless jellyfish of a man on the way out, but the Chancellor is clearly having a nervous breakdown. So it's not really great for Great Britain, is it? But she has appeared to be somewhat of a broken woman for a while. Yesterday, tears streaming down her face. The Prime Minister in Parliament, which you played clips of there, refused to say that she'd still be in a job by the end of this Parliament, which then did lead to even more tears. And then the Prime Minister in his infinite wisdom, released a promotional video that had her crying in the background. So talk about throwing her under the bus and then reversing back over. Look, she says it's a personal matter. Personally, I'm not sure about that. It plunged the pound. Bond markets went mental. It essentially cost this country billions of pounds. Now, I do have an element of sympathy for it. It's a very tough job. And obviously, if there is a deep-seated personal matter, we do have to have sympathy. However, I think this is what you get, unfortunately, when you lie on your CV as she did and you're promoted out of your debt and your boss is useless. I do feel sorry for her to an extent, but I feel more sorry for business owners, the unemployed, farmers, pensioners and taxpayers that her bad decisions have harmed over the last year. She's out and about again today. She's bounced back, but realistically, that is an exceptional, extraordinary scene that has had real-world economic consequences. And anyone in their right mind would have to say, we can't really go on like this. She can't really carry on like this. There is something clearly very wrong behind the scenes, arguments behind the scenes. She's been unable to pass any of the economic legislation that she wanted because her own MPs have rebelled. She's a lame duck chancellor, and now she's in floods of tears.
Yeah, we've got the opposite situation here in Australia. Our Treasurer doesn't cry, but we're all in tears. Before we go, Patrick, let's talk about one inspiring Brit. Princess Catherine has revealed her experience with cancer. Let's have a listen in.
We put on sort of brave-faced stoicism through treatment. Treatment's done.
Yeah.
So I can crack on and get back to normal again, but actually the phase afterwards is really, is a really difficult journey. You're not necessarily in the clinical team any longer, but you're not able to function normally at home as.
I've just got 30 seconds, Patrick, but with so much bad news, it's nice to hear from someone who's inspiring, who's got some poise about them and been through some tough times, but just come out really well.
Yeah, this is the royal family at their best, giving hope to people, but also other people will go and probably get checked for certain cancers and lumps and bumps now. So I've got a feeling that what she will do will help improve lives, but also maybe even save lives as well.
Yeah, really good stuff. Patrick Christys, thanks for joining me. See you next week.